All right. Well, after watching the film on Sunday, we decided to recognize, as we do after victory, certain guys that had outstanding ball games. Offensively, honorable mention, we went to Alex Collins, who probably played his best game of the year. Not just running the football, but a lot of other things on the field. Also, BA. We thought Brandon Allen probably played as good as he's played since he's been here and made a lot of really critical decisions, did a lot of good things during the preparation, and really played well during the course of the game. But our MVP went to Sebastian Tritola, a guy up front that just continues to impress us what he does every day. Defensively, honorable mention, three guys. Trey Flowers, Braylon Mitchell played almost 30 snaps, which for us on the SAM position and base defense, he played very, very well. Need to see a senior do that in a game like that. And then DJ Dean, who I think about a year ago in his LSU game, was the first game he really played extensively in at corner, and I was thinking, here's a guy, if he keeps coming, can really develop into something special, and he played very, very well. But our defensive MVPs went to Martrell Spaight, who, again, continues to just get better every game. Communication, obviously all the things that you do on a football field, and much, much more. And then Jared Collins. Jared has really had a nice crescendo here and done an outstanding job. I think Coach Jennings, and just the volume of work he's done at the defensive back position has been lights out. Special teams, honorable mention, Dwayne Eugene, a Louisiana kid who really, I think, had some extra mojo on Saturday, played really well in every phase that we had him. He was locked in on the sideline. And then also Adam McFain, he maybe didn't have a great kickoff game, but nailed that field goal that gave us early momentum and did a nice job during the course of the day. And then our MVP went to Sam Irwin-Hill, special teams wise. He obviously had a huge punt, gave us huge yardage, put him down inside the 10, and really just played very, very well. Scout team, offensively, went to JoJo Robinson and a local kid, Jackson Hanna, an walk-on offensive lineman. Defensively, Nick Thomas-Smith, and the special teams went to David Schimmer. I told our guys on Sunday, one of the things that I hope they appreciated during this whole process before we watched or after we got done watching the film of this game was, Saturday didn't happen by chance. It's because of the way you'd prepared. You never wavered, never flinched, and got to where they are. And in today's world, there is such a precedent set on doing things quickly. How can we do this faster? How can we do this quicker? How can we, get your food faster? How can you make this thing happen that much quicker? And I think if you want to build things to last and you want to do it the right way and you want to do it the right way and only to have to do it one time, sometimes things take a little bit longer than you want to. And I think we were a case in that point. So I like the way our guys played. The film was awesome to watch on Sunday, but we had to turn the page. I told our guys, let's turn the page. We took them out on the field, dressed them out on Sunday, and did 5 minutes of corrections, but then we went into a big introduction into Ole Miss, who's a very good football team that I think they're ranked in the top 10 now, and obviously the new rankings will come out tomorrow night with the playoffs. I'm sure they'll be top 10 again, a very good football team. I think their quarterback offensively is very gifted. He's been around a long time, doesn't get fazed by very much. I think they got more than adequate receivers. Obviously, they had a huge loss a couple weeks ago, but they've got a pool of receivers and running backs and tight ends. Defensively, a very, very opportunistic group. They're very driven. You can tell by the turnover. That's been the critical thing for them in the ball games they've had success. So we got to come up with a plan that fits us best for Ole Miss and go out there and go to work. So a couple things injury-wise. Cameron was with us yesterday out there in the walkthrough and should be back with us in full go on Tuesday. It'd be great to have Cam Jefferson back with us. A couple guys got dinged up, nicked in a ball game of that nature is very, very common, but nobody should be out for this week's game that from anything that happened yesterday. In addition to that, last weekend, Kendrick Edwards, number 6, didn't play for us. He was on a suspension that will just last 1 week, and he'll be back with us this week. And I think the face I saw from him on Sunday, knowing that he just missed out on a game that was very, very fun to play in and very, very much could have been a great contributor for us. I think he's going to do things the way we want him done, and hopefully he'll be a very, very valuable player down the stretch.
Such an emotional celebration the other night. Are you concerned about carrying that momentum forward or let down?
I think it was a lot of emotion, and our players were happy and ecstatic, but it was a pretty much work in progress on Sunday. I didn't see much out of them. I told them, hey, kind of be your own critical self this week. Your mom, your dad, all your friends, your girlfriend, whatever. Everybody's going to think you're better than you are this week. Just to, take a little bit of that and feel good about it. But Ole Miss is not looking at that game other than an opportunity to make themselves better. So I think our reality slapped us in the face pretty quick on Sunday, and hopefully we'll carry through the week.
Concerned that they basically had 2 bye weeks when they played the Presbyterian and then an actual bye week and how rested them.
Yeah, Nate, I think bye weeks are about how you use them. One of the most enjoyable relationships out of moving to this conference was getting to know Hugh, and he was a very, very good football coach. I think obviously we got different contrasts and styles, but I like the way he approaches the game. I love his demeanor. I've built a relationship with him. My guess is how you use those bye weeks, he's used very well for his football team. I got to tell you, last week during our bye week, or 2 weeks ago during our bye week, we practiced less than I've ever practiced in any time in my career during a bye week, and I think it goes to show also the growth. For me, you have to get out of what you feel comfortable doing, and I thought our guys needed rest and knowledge more than they needed to go out there and pound it out. So, how they use their bye week is going to be up to them, and I can't really worry about that other than to get ready to play them.
Speaking of bye week, you speak to how well you guys have played coming off.
Yeah. Again, going back to previous experiences, you'll rely on that, but I always feel you can get better. I thought last year at the end of the year, we were in some games there at the stretch we weren't able to win, I thought, because we wore down, and I've really been conscientious of that, trying to make sure. Even Ben Herbert, he had a great hand in it on Thursday. He came up to me Wednesday at practice. He said, Coach, usually we come in for a pretty intense workout on Thursday with our travel roster, and he's like, let's maybe back off on this Thursday and let them have another 24 hours of recovery, and we did it, and obviously it panned out very well. So I think we all live and learn, and hopefully they're going to pay off in the future.
Why do you think the offense has had so much success on third downs?
Well, I think a couple things. Our offense has had success by the plan that they were given, and then on top of that, our players, I think, execute that plan very well. One of the things that we always try to talk about is, as good coaches, I think we'll maximize your players' strengths and minimize their weaknesses. And we've developed a better relationship with our players on this year's roster probably than we had a year ago. And whether it's BA being able to move on the throws, especially moving to his left, which is a little bit unusual for a right-handed quarterback, whether it's receivers running certain type of routes that have been good. I thought the comebacks to Keon Hatcher were great. I thought some of the rub routes that you see AJ and Hunter but continue to have success with, again, they're just great designs by Jim Chaney and the offensive staff.
Kind of what went into the planning on having Brandon roll out more, and maybe why hadn't he done it as much earlier?
I think, again, Jim Chaney deserves all the credit in the world. I thought our coaches, as we began to see maybe some of the fleas that we have, or maybe the breakdowns that we've had, how can we adjust? How can we make them better? And he and the staff came up with some things that were able to do that, and I think that speaks for itself.
Bret, talking about how you guys manage bye weeks and stuff, there's always a feeling coming out of an Alabama game, an LSU game, a physical game. It seems like you guys are reasonably healthy for this
Yeah.
time of year. How do you feel like you are set up for the last 2 weeks to go finish the year?
Bo, and again, you've heard me say it: 5 bye, 4 bye, 3 bye. I think it couldn't have laid out any better if you use them appropriately. If we'd went into that bye week and kind of ran a meat grinder drill or anything like that, and got our guys banged up during the course of the week, they wouldn't have played as well as they did on Saturday. So I think it's great management by our coaches. But I think we're just that much more prepared. I think Ben Herbert, when he has a chance to work with your guys year-round, it's going to show a difference in not only their physical makeup but their mental makeup. We kept reminding them all week last week about the 5 edges to Arkansas, first being mental and physical toughness. There's a couple great examples on Saturday's film of guys playing fast through the whistle. You go to every practice field, whether it be a high school field, a college field, an NFL practice field, I hear everybody say, come on, let's play fast, play fast, play fast. Well, that's great. We talk about playing fast through the whistle. And there were so many examples of our guys that are running to the ball as the ball begins to be tackled or become blown dead, and our guys are moving towards the ball where everybody else is decelerating, and I think that's a big statement.
I know you talked a lot about the progress Martrell
Yeah, I go back to his home the first time. I talked to him on the phone, but, I'd never been to Little Rock, never been in Little Rock, and never visited Little Rock. So I'd fly into Little Rock on a Saturday night. It was the last Saturday of live recruiting. I had Bobby Allen with me and our recruiting coordinator at the time, and we got the address to his grandma and grandpa's house. I figured if you're going to grandma and grandpa's house in Little Rock, that's going to be a good thing. We walk in the door, and Boise, as his grandfather's name, was there with his whole family. Mark Spaight and his wife were there, and you could see right away there's this nucleus of people. And then we sat there and visited for a couple hours. Grandma fell out of her lazy boy watching Wheel of Fortune in the other room. We had to get her back in the chair. It was just kind of one of those environments where you felt at home, and I think that carried forward into what we see today. He felt at home. He could have went to Kansas State. He was committed to Kansas State then. Could have went to really any school in the country that wasn't in the SEC immediately. But he wanted to go to Arkansas. He wanted to play and be a Hog. And to me, I tell that to the scouts all the time because it shows the value he has on family or on doing things that he believes in. And that's probably what makes him so strong yet today. I give Randy Shannon and Rob all the credit in the world defensively because they've turned him into a student of the game that is unprecedented. I've never seen a player change that much in a year as far as how he approaches it. And
it looks like on the field,
huge.
What is his role in the defense overall?
Well, as a rule, our Mike linebacker makes the call, but the Will echoes it. He's going to yell backfield sets. I think Randy does a nice job of picking up some things maybe off film that might tell us where the ball's going to go, if it's going to be a run versus a pass. Sometimes even it's specific. If you look at the first play, he points right where the ball's going to go, and that didn't just happen by chance, and he didn't intercept a signal. He just knew by the way they aligned and by what was happening, he knew where the ball was going to go. And anytime, I always say this, A.J. Derby, his dad played linebacker right behind me in college, and I love his dad to this day, not just because he gave me a great player, but at the time I loved him because he stood right behind me and he would yell out the top runs we were going to see, and he was right about 75% of the time. Made me look a lot better than I really was. So Martrell, I know those D linemen love him. The passion he plays with, the entire team loves him, and his coaches, just to see him have success is pretty fun.
You mentioned Alex Collins, just kind of what were the things he did?
There's a play, Nate, if you remember the play that Hunter kind of caught a crossing route underneath and ran down their sideline over there for a fairly significant gain. That was a great play in itself, great design. We had Cody Hollister running off a go route. We had Keon kind of clear through the zone, and then him and A.J. ran a crossing pattern and freed him up. But the best parts of that play were twofold. First, Dan Skipper does an amazing job of protection, but as soon as that ball is thrown, he's at the line of scrimmage with like 10 other players, and then he starts on a dead sprint to the ball that no one else is even, no one else is 6'10", no one's going to weigh 330, but he's the fastest guy getting to the ball. That was awesome to watch. And then on the flip side of it, Alex Collins is offset to the right, and he's got a protection scan where he actually comes across, he sees a guy come free that wasn't really his first read, and that guy's going to tattoo B.A. He's going to kill B.A. And he comes flying across the formation and delivers a guy a blow that is probably 50 pounds heavier than him and rocks him in the next week. And it just, the unselfishness of that particular play. Now, the next time he might do the same thing and whack his knees out. So he stayed high on him this time. But that's going to show up on film. And what it showed, I think, to the other players that watch that, not just our opponents, but the players on our own team, was here's Alex Collins sacrificing his body so our quarterback doesn't get hurt, which is what we ask all of them to do. And that little play right there probably summarized that statement more than anything.
Is there any team you've played that you think maybe Ole Miss is a similar style to?
We played some spread offenses, but Ole Miss is its own unique animal. I think obviously because of the Hugh and Gus comparison, everybody goes there, but I don't see that. I think Auburn was more of a run-oriented type team. I think the strengths of their quarterback allows you to think that they're going to throw the football around pretty good, or try to. I think defensively there's some comparisons. Yeah, they're very physical up front, disruptive. They like to capitalize off of key team turnovers, like other teams in this league, but offensively not necessarily.
Right, if your seniors on defense have been here for 4 or 5 years, they've played with a lot of coordinators, a lot of bad defenses.
Yeah.
What does this mean to you to see them really leading the way for success?
Without a doubt, I think there's three things. Alan Turner with the DBs, Martrell Spaight with the linebackers, and Trey Flowers with the D-line. You have a defensive senior at every position that's showing those younger players how to play. And that's not just, I'm not going to reap the rewards of that this year. I'm going to reap the rewards of that for years to come. Because the seniors, we have a little saying in my coaching that I've always believed in is seniors never graduate. Seniors always graduate. Their legacy never does. And their legacy that they're passing on right now is in the preparation of how to win. It doesn't happen by chance that these guys are playing the way they are. They're doing it because of the way they've handled their business. And that, I think, it's kind of a contagious thing right now, too. Trey's always been that. Then all of a sudden, Alan Turner started to become that midway through the year last year, and then Martrell got it in the out of season. And it's a contagious thing that's kind of bred throughout not just defense. Now it carries over to the offensive side of the football as well.
How does Brendan Mitchell handle where he plays a lot against some teams and not obviously much against? As well as I could ever imagine. We just basically, when they go to a certain personnel group, and we go nickel, and that's what gets Tevin Mitchell in the game, who's another senior who's playing lights out. Tevin Mitchell should easily be included in that group I just said, but Tevin's kind of a quieter kid. But Braylon, I walked up to him during the bye week. I said, "Listen, bro, we're going to play a team that's going to allow you to get on the field. We're going to play base defense, and then, all these scouts, you look great in your uniform, and you do all the right things. He's on set to graduate, and done all these different things. Said now they need to see you on film. What are you going to do? And if you play well this week, you could set yourself up for an opportunity beyond here." And that's exactly what he did. I believe he played 28 snaps, and he played them very, very well. He was effective in everything that we asked him to do. He's been a great leader off the field. I took him to the radio show with me last week, him and Sebastian Tritola, and I think they're going to maybe rename the radio show to the Sebastian Tritola Show. He took it over, but Braylon kind of just took that whole thing in, and he came up afterwards and gave me a huge hug and said, "Coach, I never thought I'd get to do something like this." I'm like, "Go to the radio show, eat some catfish," and he just meant the experience of being able to do that and the fun that he's having right now as a senior. Even though we're 5-5, I think he's enjoying it as much as anybody could ever imagine.
Did you take 5 minutes the other night, 5-10 minutes Saturday night, reflect on how far it's come?
I suppose in a certain sense I did. I didn't expect or see what was happening around me. I just went to shake. I learned a valuable lesson. Ironically, it came against the head coach at Arkansas. I won our first bowl game as a head coach, and I remember we were 12-1 and everything, and I got so wrapped up in the moment with my own players, I forgot to shake Houston's hand. And I think I've told that story before. It was unbelievably disrespectful by me, so I went and I waited outside the locker room for a half hour. I think Houston made me wait a little longer just to prove a point, but I shook his hand and I just apologized. And so one of the things I do after every game, I make a beeline right for that coach. So I wanted to shake Les's hand and wish him the best luck on the season. All of a sudden, there's all those people around me, and then I think the part that was really neat is in my post game television show, we talked a little bit about the progress that we made, but the ride home was actually pretty quick. I got on the phone and made a few recruiting phone calls, but I got home and just had my family with me and sat there Saturday night. I do like to have a cigar on a Victory cigar, so I sat out in back of my patio and kind of just thought about it a little bit, which was nice. But then Sunday comes really, really fast, and Ole Miss becomes even really very more so. So there hasn't been much time for that, and I guess it's because I've had other moments where kind of those aha moments, but this one I knew was coming, so I wasn't really shocked by it. It was more of a manifestation of what we believe to be true.
You said it was coming to this game?
I've known it's been coming for a while, but I really did on Tuesday or Wednesday. I said something to our guys on Thursday, which I've never done. Our fifth Arkansas edge that we talk about is we earn everything, and I've said several times throughout this year that you've earned the right to play in this game, whether it was the A&M game or the Alabama game, and people are making it a big deal because of the way you've played. But I said in this LSU game, and I made a special point to him on Thursday, I said, I'm going to tell you something I never told you. I said, you've earned the right to win this game. You've put in the preparation, you've learned the lessons you needed to learn, and you've earned the right to win this football game, and that's exactly what they did.
You talked about when you get that win.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I think two things. Well, I think that our players needed to taste that, and they needed to understand what that feels like just the dramatically different contrast in feelings. So maybe when that bump in the road comes on Saturday, whether it's first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, or fourth quarter, or overtime versus Ole Miss, we're going to know what that response should be. And I think that was Saturday a big difference. We had a calmness to us, whether it be on the headsets with our coaches, on the sidelines with our players, or on the field with the players alone. There was a calmness that was there that was very, very comfortable, and I think that's something they learned, and I made a point of that. The second thing is just all the other stuff that comes out of that now, recruiting, the way administration feels about you, the way that your fans feel about you, the way that the media feels about you, the way the national media. I mean, Brett Eisen came over with, like, you know, normally on Sunday I just got a handful of things, but then there was, you know, USA Today, ESPN Magazine, you know, Sports Illustrated. Everybody wanted to, you know, have a comment, which you have to do as a head coach because you want to bring awareness to your program, but it also brings the awareness that as you have success, people want to take you off your task.
You mentioned Ole Miss, like those turnovers on defense. What do they hang their hat on? Are they a big blitz team?
You know, a little bit of both. I think they're opportunistic. I think as a number 9, their corner has 9 picks. Forget his number, but he's very intelligent player. Takes advantage of what you can tell are things he's learned on film. And I guess I go back to when their defense coordinator was here, Bobby Allen was here, and Bobby, you know, made reference to he used to, you know, obviously preach the turnover margin there as well. So we got to be very good with the football. You know, of course, Saturday we had 0 turnovers. We had the one that got loose, and the thing I loved about it, Keon Hatcher did everything he could to keep that ball alive on Saturday, and then Patrick Arins came in and cleaned up a guy that was trying to get his hands on it. It was a conscientious effort to that ball is loose and they ain't getting it, and I think that's something that's been bred in for a while.
One thing that you talked about last week was how your players came back refreshed from the bye week.
Mm-hmm.
Is there almost more of a sense of refreshment this week, knowing that there's a win and that bonus game is still a possibility, or maybe a more real one?
Yeah, I think so, and I think obviously that's an easy thing to point to, but I do believe that, you know, I told our guys actually Saturday morning, I said, hey, you know, we're playing, we get a chance to play for the boot, get a chance to win your first SEC game, you get a chance to, you know, play a ranked team. I think that's the part that gets lost in this whole thing is we beat a top 20 team. You know, they were only 17. We're used to playing 5 or better, but the part that I think, you know, I got to walk across the field and shake Les Miles' hand, and he knows he just lost. You know, our players got to run across and grab a boot because their players didn't. And as a man, as you get older, and maybe even more so when you really don't have a much, or maybe, I mean, everybody knows the salary that I get, so everybody knows that you got money and all that stuff. But the greatest satisfactions in life are when you gain someone's respect that wasn't there before. And that happened Saturday night, and I think that's a key part of our success. So we'll play for a victory, we'll do all that stuff, but I think our guys, and myself included, want Ole Miss to walk off that field knowing that we respect us.
How did Josh Liddell do?
Josh Liddell?
Yeah, and how does it stack up?
You know, Josh came in, was kind of a flash in fall camp. We were like, whoa, this kid, you know, was doing things off the charts. That that's why we gave him a scholarship. That's why I gave him a scholarship in January. And then he kind of, I think the big, you know, all of a sudden Dalloway, you know, was here. He was trying to do things like he did back home, and you got to do it a little different here. You know, you got to, as far as just academics, all the things you got to do off the field, all the things you got to do on the field, and I got big on him for a while, and then I just kept on him and on him and on him about focus on what you need to do, get back to the basics. And I will say this, you know, when a number 2 comes in the game the way he came in, you know, with obviously the ejection of Rohan Gaines, we didn't miss a beat. I think he had one bust. I think that goes to first commitment by him that he prepared well, but also Clay Jennings. Clay and the defense staff overall, I think, have just done a tremendous job with our secondary of making them understand what they need to do to have success and then going out and earning it.
Have you gotten any comments about your beard?
Yeah. Actually, you know what? The coolest comment of the whole thing is I got a text from Commissioner Slive that, you know, congratulations on the first SC win, and then he kind of made a comment. It was kind of nice to see all those grizzly faces on the sideline, because I think our staff has taken with it and run with it just because it's for a great cause, for a man that we really think the world of, and plus I think they like the idea they don't have to shave every day. So it's been a fun part there, but mostly been positive.
You didn't know Garrett after
I didn't.
How close you are to your senior.
You know, I knew the story when I got here. I remember hearing about it when it happened, but obviously it was something I submerged myself in. I remember I was on a flight when in recruiting, and I kind of just Googled all the articles that happened around that time and read about it. And then when I got first chance to meet his family, and there were a couple players on last year's team that was very close to him. I think the one defining moment for me was they have a walk for him in the spring, you know, that remembers and celebrates everything about him. And I had asked a couple people. I said, you know, how many guys of ours are going to want to walk on this walk? I think it was 8 in the morning. And, you know, our guys, Saturday morning, a chance to sleep in an extra hour when you're 18 to 22 is a good thing. I said, hey, the walk is at this time. We need to leave at 7:30. We'll provide transportation. Who wants to go? I mean, everybody raised their hand. And that made a statement to me that he was on the minds of all those kids. So I think it's neat on Saturday. I haven't seen it. I know they're going to do a video tribute to Garrett to start the senior walk, and hopefully that something will be remembered for a long time.
Brett, your defense, particularly in Alabama and the LSU games, I think they got like 106 yards total rushing. How much of that is playing with what y'all do?
I think a little bit of both. Alabama and LSU probably are a very similar approach to us, how we run the football, so I think that helps a little bit. But again, I will go back to the most basic and fundamental thing, tackling. You know, I made the story, you know, there's this little elderly, angry lady that follows me around the entire rubber chicken circuit all spring and asks us about tackling. I swear she shows up everywhere. And I always thought it was funny because when I first got that question, it was like, well, of course we're going to practice tackling. We're a defense football team, but the fact of the matter was we hadn't really tackled well, and it was apparent to everybody and obvious to everybody, and it really became obvious to our players because they made a conceded effort ever since last spring to where we are today. If you want to get Rob Smith going, which is not that hard to do, but if you really want to get him riled up, ask him to give you his tackling philosophy. So I remember we were in a hotel room. I picked him up in Tampa. We were having a recruiting trip to Miami, and I picked him up. I'd come in from somewhere, so I picked him up late. We didn't get to our hotel till 9 or 10 o'clock at night. I wanted to talk over some philosophy things with him. He was going to meet with Randy and a couple coaches the next morning, and so the restaurant was closed. There wasn't anywhere place for go. They wouldn't let us stay down in the lobby, so he came to my room, and it was just he and I. We didn't have the TV on, and we're just talking philosophy. And he and I get along on certain things, and we disagree on certain things. And we were going on, and we were talking about this tackling philosophy. And we had the bed pushed to the side, and the chairs were out. It was like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, and we hear, and I'm like, what in the world? And we turn around, and it's hotel security. There wasn't anything going on in the room. It wasn't any funny business, but they're like, can you guys keep it down? We've had a complaint about the volume out of this room. It was because we were talking tackling philosophy, and he was demonstrating me on how he taught this certain technique. And it's an impressive, it actually derived out of the situation where the player at Rutgers was injured when LeGrand lost his ability to walk. They kind of had to regroup as a staff, and he went through it, and they came up with this tackling philosophy that him and the other defensive coaches with Coach Schiano, and they taught it at Tampa Bay. I think at Tampa Bay they went from one of the most inefficient tackling defenses to one of the best in the NFL, and they believed it really came out of that. And the thing I've learned in this profession is when you have someone, it's not necessarily what they believe, it's how much they believe it. And Rob will get, that night he got emotional when he talked about it, which is very unusual for him. But also then the passion that he's displayed it to our players believe in it, and that's pretty cool.
Speaking of Rob, you think you might have to fend off some people after the season?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hire good coaches. I probably should have saved some of the articles that you guys wrote about who's this guy. I think the part that good coaches recognize is they recognize coaches that are passionate about what they believe in. Rob is a very unique individual. He is a guy that is very passionate, very strong in what he believes in. Because he is a good coach, I'm sure I'll get inquiries. The great thing about what we got going right now, I think Jeff Long and administration realizes how special it is. I would like to also say this. after the third week of the season, we hired a guy by the name of Steve Loney. My administration, I went to them. You know, I remember going over to Alabama a couple years ago and standing on the sideline were 3 coaches that weren't on their staff, that were consultants that I had faced as coordinators, whether it was Kevin Steele or there was a couple guys that I knew in the profession who just, they're what they are. They're consultants, I guess, and they just watch film and they're ahead of the game and they don't coach and they don't. I'm not insinuating anything like that. They have them. They're a resource. So I went to our administration and said, this is what other people got, and they kind of poo-pooed it at first, and then I came to them with a couple of suggestions and ideas, and so we hired Steve Loney, who I actually interviewed as an offensive coordinator position back when I was at Wisconsin. He had been the offensive coordinator of the Minnesota Vikings, I believe with the Gophers, with Iowa State, just a junkie, a football coach. So what he did, he started working for us, and he's 2 weeks in front of us. So like today I went in his office, he's working on Missouri, all right? Well, obviously we're not. We're all about Ole Miss. But last night, or on Sunday when I come in the office, I have a written document of what he's learned about Ole Miss through his study and it's cool because he's got an offensive mind, and he breaks down Ole Miss's offense on their protections, their run game, their pass game, strengths, weaknesses, personnel. And so he's in advance of everything that our coach has done. And Rob Smith would tell you, you know, he comes in and he meets with him for, 2 or 3 hours on Sunday to go through all their third down protections, best runs, best passes. And he has been invaluable to our program and a tremendous football coach. Now, I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep him again just because he's a good ball coach, probably get hired by someone else. But he actually had built a A-frame about an hour and 15 minutes away from here, so he was in the area. That's how it all materialized. Him and Jim Chaney worked together at St. Louis. I've known him for a long time, and he's just a football junkie. And that has been a difference in our program that it can't even describe how much of an effect it's had.
When you hired Rob, what did you see that, like, because he wasn't a name, and people, you're talking about what he put down and stuff, why him and not some of the bigger names or whatever? Did you see that?
You know what? I want to give him someone for you to interview eye to eye with. That's what I wanted to do. Well, just kidding. Just kidding. Just give me a hard time. Just kidding. Rob was a GA again when I was a coach at Iowa. Developed a friendship with him. His wife and I were good friends before he was. So it started off as a co-working relationship, developed a friendship. Then when he was at Maine, I went and visited him a couple times, and that's when I was around the other coaches there, and they're like, man, this guy's really got it. And when he was at Maine, first he was a corners coach, then he was a DB coach, then he was a special teams coordinator, then he was a defense coordinator, then he was assistant head coach, then he goes to Rutgers, and he's a DB coach, then he's a linebacker coach, then he's a defensive coordinator. Everybody just kept moving him along. Well, you don't promote people you don't like or feel that they don't do a good job. I knew that. I knew it was a hidden commodity. I was very aware too that Rutgers was trying to get him back, so I knew the people at Rutgers knew he was good. I think that part jumped out to me right away. But when I, to be quite honest, that night in Miami in a hotel, when I realized that here's a guy that has great passion, but also understands what he's doing philosophy-wise. He's got a philosophy he believes in, and he doesn't waver in it. Does not take criticism well. There's been some pretty good discussions between he and I. I think the part that I love is I've grown very much as a head coach through working with him, and I think he would probably say the same thing at the right time in the right environment. So it's been a lot of fun. I think the growth of our two coordinators, Jim Chaney and Rob Smith, during the course of this season has been unprecedented and a lot of fun to watch.
For one more?
A little off topic.
Yeah. 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 This conference, this profession that we're in is one that is driven by wins, and I get that. I totally understand it. Had known Will just a little bit before I came here. Again, a relationship that he and I started probably, I was in Dallas at Jerry Jones Stadium for a Kenny Chesney concert and bumped into him and his wife, and just started talking to him, spent a couple hours with him, and then that kind of let the guard down about being in the same conference. And I think the truest statement I could make about Will is he had that game a couple weeks ago when he beat Georgia, and we lost another heartbreaker that day. I think it was a Mississippi State game, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe it was Auburn or Alabama, I can't remember. And of all the texts, I remember the next day I got a text from him saying, "Hey, you're a tremendous coach. Know what you do. Keep the faith. It's going to happen. I can't believe you can't get." Just a word of encouragement. I'm like thinking, here I'm going through the most difficult time. He maybe just had the greatest win for the season, and he had the time to do that for me. Just said a lot about who he is and what he is. He's a tremendous football coach. I know he's staying there for the next couple games. I was going to invite him in to actually help us like out what Coach Loney is doing, but he's going to coach those final 2 games. Don't know if he would have done it, but I was going to offer it. And then I think the part that's really cool is I just happened to flip it on today. I came walk in my office when they were doing the press conference, and to hear him talk so well of the university that he'd been working for the last 4 years in a way that makes you show that he truly is a class act. And it won't be the last time that Will Muschamp's a head coach. I'm pretty sure of that.